It's Tag Tuesday. I've got the house to myself, and I'm waiting for my keto-friendly chocolate chip cookies to cool off. So I thought I would film my tag. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March, and I'm not rebelling this week, and I am giving you a tag on Tag Tuesday. And I actually have a couple of videos coming up this week, so that's why I thought I'll take advantage of Tag Tuesday and post my tag on Tuesday. I'm just rambling at this point. So which tag am I doing? I am doing the Personal Rules for Reading tag. And I was tagged by Micah Cummins. If you're not familiar with his channel, I'm going to link it below, but I'm really enjoying his content, and he's a younger booktuber that I really like and extremely smart. Seems like a very nice person. On video he does, at least. So I'm going to link his channel. Please go and check him out. Now this tag was originated by MJ at Reading This Life, and they got it from an inspired video from Michael K. Vaughan. So all of those channels will be linked down below. So the point of this tag is to answer the prompts about your personal reading, personal rules for reading, but then add one of your own questions at the end. And I'm going to do that, but I'm afraid this tag is going to get a little bit long. So let's get going and I'll see how I do. The first prompt. Number 1, do you strive to read every day? If yes, do you do anything different or special to make time within your day? If no, why not? Okay. There's going to be some humor in this one. Do I strive to read every day? Yes, I read every day. I feel weird when I don't. And sometimes, some days are longer than others. Some days I can get a couple hours, especially on the weekend. Some days it's maybe 15, 20 minutes. But I read every day. And do I do anything different or special to make time within my day? I have revealed this before, but when I'm at work, I often take my phone into the bathroom, and maybe I spend a little extra time in there reading my Kindle book. I also, when I'm at work, I'll usually take a break during the day and I'll go to the cafeteria. And lately I've been bringing my physical book because I've lost my interest in electronic reading. I already made a video about that. But I will bring a book with me for my work day, and if I end up stopping somewhere and I have to wait, I'll have my book with me. But then at the end of my day, I read as much as I can, and maybe I'll put it in 15-minute chunks because that's what works. If I'm making dinner, I will sit at the table and I'll read while dinner is cooking. Or I will read in the living room if my husband or daughter are watching TV or video. I can't always read everything with the TV on, but if the time is there, I'll take it. And then after dinner, when everything is settled down, that's my prime time to read. But I can't go too late because usually if I read past 10, I'm falling asleep. But I read every day, and I read as much as I can during the day. I don't know what to do with myself if I go a day without reading. Number 2, do you always stay within your favorite genres, or do you experiment with reading different genres and subgenres? I read everything except horror, and I'm not that crazy about like the pulp fiction. Criminale I love listening to, and I love watching his content, but we have completely different taste in books, in literature. And one of the reasons I like his content is because it is so different than mine. But he reads a lot of the books that I would not ever gravitate to pick up. But so that horror is probably the only genre, probably, that I don't read. Other than that, I read everything. Fiction, nonfiction, romance, fantasy, science fiction, a lot of different types of nonfiction, anything. Yeah, I go for anything. Whenever I know I want to read and I want to enjoy my reading and I'm reaching for something, it's almost always fiction first. And typically it's literary fiction or classics. But there are times, like I'm about to start a thriller, and I like reading romance and all kinds of stuff. So I guess the answer is I experiment with a bunch of stuff. Number 3, do you DNF, which means did not finish? If yes, what was the last book you DNF'd and the reasons why? If your answer is no, then what drives you to finish the book? I DNF all the time. Quite often, you guys never know because I'll put books on my Goodread, and if I DNF them, I might just X them off my Goodreads without explanation. I don't have to explain anything to you, but I've done that quite a bit. The last book I DNF'd was The Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. That book was just not for me. Was that the last one? Yeah, I think that was the last one I DNF'd. Yes. It just was not for me. It was too fantastical. I'm not a fan of whimsical books. It was a novel in verse. It was just not for me. Not a Kim book. So I DNF'd that. I have DNF'd books in the first page. I have DNF'd books after 70%. DNFs can happen at any time. And what happens when I DNF on the first page? If your first page is filled with cliches or similes in the first page, it's out. You're out. Number 4, do you like to read challenging books? If yes, what draws you to them? If not, why do you avoid them? I love reading challenging books. Now, challenging is going to mean something different for every person, every reader. And for me, the visual primary reason a book could be challenging is typically its length. And I love long books, and I've read many of them on purpose. Let's see. When you look at a long book, it looks challenging. And to me, I just want to conquer the thing. I just want to say, I read this wicked long book. But typically the books that I have read that are like mega long, like Count of Monte Cristo, those are the books that are spectacular. Count of Monte Cristo is one of my favorites of all time. Red Comet, the biography of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark. Loved it. That's 950 something pages. Middlemarch is 850 something pages. Many of George Eliot's novels are long, and I love them all. There's other ways a book can be challenging. The content can be difficult. It could be difficult in its content or its formatting or its writing. I just finished Corregidora by Gail Jones. That was a challenging book, very short book, but challenging in its content, the story, the violence, and the tone. Another challenging book was Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor. Extremely difficult book to read. Bastard Out of Carolina by Dorothy Allison. So hard to read those stories. Typically they are because of violence or abuse or murder or rape or something like that. But I really do want to conquer challenging books, whether they're challenging for length or content. Let's see. Number 5, Greg's question. Do you read books that have been banned by local authorities? Now, Greg, there's a couple of names of booktubers in here that I'm not familiar with. I will put their channels down below because I did not prepare and I need to look them up. Do you read books that have been banned by local authorities? I read banned books all the time. I don't have a lot of local authorities that have banned books. However, my town, there was a town council person who tried to have 3 books banned from my local library, and not even just the school libraries, but the local library. One of them was Genderqueer by, I believe, Maya Kababi. And there were 2 other books that had to do with books that were written for young readers, and they all had LGBTQ plus content. Genderqueer is on my TBR. I actually am looking forward to reading that. I read Mouse by Art Spiegelman, which has been banned in places around the country. I read the Heartstopper series, and the Heartstopper series and Mouse I donated to my daughter's high school. How do you like that? So yes, I read banned books all the time, and I will always read banned books because nothing should be banned. I've read Beloved is banned in high schools. The Handmaid's Tale is banned in high schools. I've read all of those. Number 6, Criminali's question. Do you read books by authors whose views you disagree with? Yes. However, I'm one of those people who has a difficult time separating the art from the artist. But there's also writers of political attitudes that I completely disagree with, and I have read their books. A lot of nonfiction I would read, specifically I would read anyway because I really want the information. And I want to hear people's opinions and attitudes that are different from mine because you can learn from that, and that's what I do. For fiction, there's some books that are very difficult for me to read, especially if it's misogynistic or homophobic. And I can discern that in the language that the author uses or the tone of the book. So I guess my question is yes, often, but not always. Number 7, one of Steve Donahue's questions. Do you clear your mind of preconceptions and biases before you start a new book, or do you go in with axes to grind? No, I pretty much clear my brain. And I could finish a book and 15 minutes later be looking for the next one. And I've cleared my brain. I've cleared my mind. I don't know if I've ever read a book and carried axes with me to the next book. I don't think I have. So usually when I finish a book, I'll be done with it and I'm ready for the next one. There have been a lot of books that even months later, like now, I'm still thinking about. Or if I reach for a new book, I'm like, should I start this one yet? Or do I want to keep thinking about the other one? But I don't really go in with the axes to grind. Another Steve question, number 8. Do you recommend books if you end up really liking them? And if so, what form does that recommendation take? I recommend books all the time. Not just on BookTube, but a lot of people who know me know how much I read. And they'll ask me, hey, what book do you think I would like? Or do you have any good titles? And usually it's people I know well enough to know what their taste is going to be. My daughter, who just had my granddaughter, was looking for books that she could read on her Kindle because it's much easier to read electronically than it is a hard copy book with a newborn. So I gave her a bunch of titles for her Kindle, and she likes mystery and thrillers, and I gave her several titles of that, and she already read one and really liked it, and she's starting another one. So if I know you and you're asking me for a book recommendation, I absolutely will give that. I have given people lists of books. I have put books on my Facebook page. I have written reviews on Goodreads, but I haven't done that in a while since I started my BookTube channel. But yeah, if something, if I'm in a conversation and somebody randomly says, oh yeah, I read this really good book lately, to me, that means door open, here comes the book conversation, and then my eyes light up. Do you like to read? Well, I read this great book, and I'll just keep going. Yeah. Big giant geek. Number 9, Bill's question. What was the last book you recommended? Was there a specific reason for that book? Do people come to you regularly for book recommendations? Very similar to Steve's question. The last book I recommended, I gave my daughter a bunch of titles, and one of them was Miracle Creek, which I think she's starting. When I read thrillers, I'm a big fan of Alice Feeney, who wrote Rock, Paper, Scissors, and she also wrote Sometimes I Lie, which I loved. And so I gave my daughter Rock, Paper, Scissors, the title to read that I thought she would like. Another book. A book that I can recommend to almost anybody is Lonesome Dove, and I've recommended that to dozens of people. Just read Lonesome Dove. There's several other books that I will recommend. I recommended Hamnet to my entire book group. I have a book group that I recommend a lot of books to. So yeah, those types of books. Another question from Bill, number 10. What book have you had the most success in recommending? Good question. I have recommended Lonesome Dove to many, many people. However, it's an intimidating book because it's long, and a lot of people don't like really long books. I think that's probably one of the books I've recommended the most. If it's been a success, I don't know. I really don't know. Hamnet, I recommended that to a lot of people, and they have purchased it. I think that's about it. And Micah's question, the last one, number 11, do you take notes or annotate while you read? And if so, what form does it take? I do not take notes. I don't write notes in books, but I will highlight and I'll draw arrows to the passages I want to remember. I do dog ear. I do break spines. Once in a while, I have used Post-it notes. Typically, I only do all of that if I'm in a buddy read or if I'm in a discussion on a book. I don't usually do that if I'm just reading a book on my own. I don't really love to do that. I do break spines if I'm on my own, and I do dog ear if I'm on my own. I don't dog ear everything, and I don't love to do it, but if I'm too lazy to get up off my butt and grab a pen or a bookmark or something, I will dog ear. If I have a couple different copies of the same book, I'll dog ear one of them, my reading copy. So I will add a question to this. My question is number 12, and it is, do you shush people or give them eye rolls or put your hand up if they interrupt you while you're reading? I've done all of them. A lot of times at work, I'll take my break in the cafeteria and I'll have a book. I can't tell you the number of people who will interrupt me. What are you reading? Is it really good? Or they'll just want to have a conversation or say hello or small talk. And I'm an introvert at heart and I friggin' hate small talk. So it's like, leave me the heck alone. Hand. Talk to the hand. So do you do that? Do you shush people, give them the eye roll, or put your hand up? That's it for me. So I'm going to tag a few people. I'm not going to tag too many. Let me see. I am looking at my list here. I'm going to tag Bethann Bruninga Sokolar. Bethann, you're tagged. I am going to tag Erin at Erin Go Read. And I am going to tag, I'm getting there. Oh, Jolene at Bookworm Adventure Girl. So you are all tagged. And, no pressure. Everybody knows that. If you get tagged, don't feel pressure to do the tag if you don't want to. So that's it for me. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.